Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to the Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Today, our guest is Fawaz. Fawaz, how are you doing today?
Not bad, Qasim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, let us know where you live and what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So, Qasim, I'm a neurosurgeon by background. I'm based out just west of Toronto, Canada, in a town called London, Ontario. So, based out of here, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Actic.ai.
Awesome. So, what are your main responsibilities, like core responsibilities? I can understand you might be having multiple hats because of a founder.
Right.
Still, like, what are your core responsibilities?
Yeah, I mean, two sides of it, I guess. The first is obviously the medical practice. So I'm still active as a surgeon, despite the fact that I have stepped back a little bit to work on Actic. And then on the Actic side, our company is just a little over 3 years old, and so I'm leading the vision and development of that company along with my technical co-founders.
Awesome. So, in terms of what was your inspiration behind starting the business? Because businesses may have many stories before starting and after starting as well. So, what was your inspiration?
Yeah, I want to say it was pure anger and frustration. I think was the main thing, and I think that's the inception for so many founders, right? Like, I mean, you come across a problem and you're like, why won't anyone just fix this? So, for me, that's what it was. So Actic basically works in the disability management workplace absence ecosystem. So when people are workers and they're injured, the current environment is incredibly fragmented. Trying to get people back to work, back to health is, I would say, probably an unmitigated disaster. And so I was seeing this again and again in the clinic. I would have patients come who were a year out from their injuries, 2 years out from their injuries. And medically speaking, the challenge for these folks is that once you've been away from the workplace environment for a relatively short period of time, sort of 30 days, the chance of returning drops off precipitously. So this creates three different areas of problem. Obviously, as the worker, you are now out of a job. You might have some income replacement, but usually that amount doesn't equal your salary. And then you're dealing with this health issue. On the employer side, you're now missing an employee. So now you have to go through this process of onboarding, recruiting, retraining. And the challenge is that if you can prevent that in the first place, it not only saves dollars, but what a lot of people don't realize is it actually saves lives. So people who are out of work on disability, independent of whatever illness they have, their life expectancy is lower than people who are active and working. And there's plenty of evidence to show that. So anyway, that was the major source of frustration and why we started this company.
Awesome. So, when you started this company, in terms of percentage, how much you were able to achieve your goal? Because nobody can maybe achieve immediately the complete success or your percentage. Like you were able to fix this problem at XYZ%.
So I think probably like everyone else who listens to this podcast and people who you've spoken to, there's so much that you learn and so much that changes from that initial vision. So at first we said, let's just create a program whereby we can take employees who are off, we'll have them assessed by a specialist and a mental health provider and a physiotherapist, and we'll come up with this beautiful program. And we recognized that didn't even scratch the surface. And I think, the biggest learning for us was really understanding the ecosystem. So we had very strong healthcare backgrounds in my co-founders, my technical co-founder, Kevin Birch, and, sort of looked at it. We sort of analyzed kind of both sides of the technical and the healthcare side. And then my third co-founder, Jafar Haider, started looking at it from more an enterprise-based perspective. And we recognized that we really didn't know much at all about how the real world worked and how things were actually done and how decisions were made. And because we make an enterprise product, understanding the way enterprise thinks about this problem and where the real pain points are is so absolutely crucial. And so, we took this journey, we bootstrapped our development and just spent a lot of time learning, probably made a huge number of mistakes in between and some really crappy assumptions. But I think, what really benefited us was listening to the signals in the ecosystem and allowing our customers to really explain and understand where those pain points were and how to solve them.
All right. So in terms of any business must need some awareness, but I believe in your case, whatever business is related to the healthcare, I think they need more awareness, like their users or their clientele needs more awareness. So in terms of awareness, how you are managing this part? Because many times not customers in your case, I can say like whoever needs this even doesn't know that solution is available in the market. So have you ever faced this thing? And if yes, then what you are doing for the awareness campaigns?
It's a huge challenge. So I think there are two sides to the awareness coin. One is whether or not the industry actually recognizes there's a problem. So in our industry, everyone knows that there's a problem. I mean, anyone who's worked in the industry knows, oh yeah, broad-basely speaking, A, B, C, D are issues. The challenge is actually, raising the awareness that your company can solve that particular problem. And then what does product market fit actually look like? And so, we face this challenge more than anyone because in enterprise sales, number one, even being able to get in front of somebody is a challenge. Number two, are they even the right decision maker? And number three, do they actually have the ability to make a change without involving, 5 levels of bureaucracy and 10 meetings? And we've seen that, like some of our clients who are our clients today, initially when we were having conversations with people in a completely different department and it didn't work out and we had to circle back. So we've really focused on sort of the warm network approach in terms of being able to socialize our product and have those conversations. And whether those are conversations where I'm giving a talk somewhere or they're conversations through, social media such as LinkedIn videos and reaching certain decision makers and having these conversations, going to conferences. That seems to be the best way that we've been able to move forward. Can't say that works with everything. Obviously, different businesses will have different socialization channels. But when you're talking to enterprise, it really is identifying who the key decision maker is and to whom your solution would have the most resonance. And sometimes that can be a frontline individual and sometimes it's the CFO, but it just it comes down to figuring that out.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I think in your case, you are more working on the market development instead of market penetration. You are not penetrating in any market. This, at least to me, this looks a bit new, where a lot of awareness is required in the market.
Yeah, very much so. It as compared to very, very new products, right? Like if you take the case study of Airbnb as an example, right? So you have Airbnb where the initial concept is, I'm going to rent a couch in my house for someone to sleep in. And if you were to propose that to me, someone with a little too much gray hair, I'd be like, you're insane, right? Like I'd do it when I was in my 20s, sure. But, what are you talking about? And so that was obviously a journey for them, but getting that into the marketplace and socializing that is very different than taking a product that is being sold to, a large insurance company or a workers' compensation board. They're two kind of very different approaches.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. So in terms of, if we talk about the marketing, I'm not sure in your business how it works, but right now, many businesses are just relying on digital marketing. But I think digital marketing is also one of the good way for the awareness campaigns. But yeah, this is covering a lot of aspects. So how you are marketing your business, I'm not sure if digital marketing works for you or just offline marketing works for you.
Yeah, I would say it's more offline, and the challenge with digital marketing is that the funnel is a challenge to focus on, right? So, and that's where I think community awareness is so much more valuable. And there are associations. For example, there are large insurer associations, or associations that have a variety of individuals from an industry where key decision makers go. And I think what's really worked for us, and what I find to be of value, is giving value. And I think giving value is so crucial, and giving value without any expectation of return, right? So it's how can I help educate the industry based on a subject matter expertise perspective. And if that works out and you get something valuable out of it, fantastic. And then the benefit for me is now, I've created a network of individuals, and hopefully I'm providing some sort of information to them that they can go back to their job and use, whether they use our product or not. But what that does is I think it creates a network of individuals who are really trying to improve an industry. And when you're talking about legacy industries like insurance or healthcare or these types of things, having a bunch of like-minded individuals interacting, trading ideas, spreading ideas, then fosters, the development of product, and it fosters the development of innovation. And I think that is much more effective than blasting out a digital marketing campaign saying, this is our product, buy it. Because I don't know. I mean, and I'm sure you're the same way, right? You're bombarded with digital approaches, whether it's on any of the socials, in your inbox. Like, it's too much. And, I think people are becoming a little blind to all of these types of approaches.
Yeah, I'm also getting a lot of hundreds of emails and messages, and things are going on. Yeah. All right. So, just from my understanding, can you guide me? What is the process of client acquisition in terms of your business?
So we use a lot of, I don't even know if it's the right term. I'm sure some marketing folks will probably pillory me for it, but a little bit more pull marketing. So what our company focuses on fundamentally is data acquisition, and intentional data acquisition within the lifespan of a disability claim, or within the lifespan of a healthcare event. And what we have in the marketplace right now is a lot of companies that have a lot of data. It's deaggregated data, it's disorganized data. It's not data that's collected with intent, and it's not very helpful from a predictive modeling perspective. So the first thing that we do is we actually focus on proper data collection throughout the journey, because there are different data points. There's patient perception, there's provider perception, there is funder perception, there's employer perception. So once you map out those data sets, now we can take that data and use it to figure out, well, what type of solutions need to be deployed. And a lot of these solutions are things that just solve manual workflows. So like any industry, healthcare has a lot of manual workflows, a lot of people doing things without the benefit of AI, or they might be using some, product like Copilot in a very, very obtuse way. Whereas we go and we say, okay, great, we have this foundational database. What are the issues that you have in your entire ecosystem where there's friction? And so, a lot of customers will then be very happy to work with us and say, well, in this particular area, it's costing us $1,500 per file for me to outsource this service to get this piece of information. And then we look at it and say, well, do we have the data set to be able to solve? And then what type of technology can we add on to the top of that to create an agentic AI product that then is going to solve that problem? So that's what we do. So I would say it's more customers that we work with coming to us. They say, look, here's the issue. This is how we solve for it. And then the product goes into a market. And I think that discovery period is so absolutely crucial. If you can go and just put a product into market, a product that solves a very small problem for someone, a discrete problem, and then you can discover what all of the other problems are over and above that and how to solve those. And once you have the trust of the client with one product, then you can start building on top of that.
Yeah, this completely makes sense. Awesome. So, can you please let us know a little bit about the challenges? Because every day there's a new challenge. Every entrepreneur faces new challenge every day. But can you share one biggest challenge that you have ever faced, and how you were able to cope up with it? Because this is the main thing for the encouragement for anybody.
It is honestly the biggest challenge is the grind. Right. Like it is never, the ideation phase is so much fun, like sitting there with a bunch of friends at a whiteboard thinking that you're going to solve the world's problems and how awesome it's going to be, but it is incredibly complex, and it's very complex because humans are involved in business, right? So, and I think that's honestly the biggest challenge, right? Whether it's dealing with trying to put together the right team, dealing with conflict, dealing with changing landscapes, customers, satisfying their needs, trying to really understand where the industry is going, and then constantly being disrupted. I mean, if you look at the current pace of development within AI, I mean, we have AI in our name. We use AI products to facilitate our growth, but we're fundamentally a data company. But really, then keeping up with the pace of development of how to apply the newer AI tools to the data that we have and the data that we collect, and then the products that we put into market is a challenge. But yeah, I mean, I probably went off on a little bit of a technology tangent there, but it's people. It's always people, right? And it's going to be people everywhere. And I think, I can say this now because in my 40s, I'm very different than what I was in my 20s. And I have a little bit of the benefit of hindsight, but understanding what motivates people is probably the biggest asset that anyone can have. You have to make people, Reid Hoffman says this, right? Like, you make people the heroes of their own journey, and people want to be valued, and they want to contribute, and they want to see that they're doing well. And so, I've been very, very focused on that aspect of it, because I'm surrounded by absolutely fantastic people. Everyone on our team is so much smarter than I am, and so much more capable. And so I think if you release them to let them innovate and develop, that can overcome a lot of those challenges. But it's people, it's business, right? And business would be easy if it weren't for people.
Then, yeah, exactly. So, can you guide us a little bit more in terms of defining the goals? How you define your goals? Like, what is the thinking behind goals whenever you are planning the goals, and how important the goals are for any company? And
So, yeah.
at the end, what are your short-term goals? Let's say, as an example, what are your short-term goals?
Yeah, so I think it's a fantastic question, because goals can be divided into different types, right? So you can say, okay, well, there's an overarching goal, and then there's a short and long-term vision that fits into it, and how do you connect that into what you're doing? But oftentimes the goal then guides the behaviors within the organization, and the question is well, what are the goals that motivate people? And so I find that money is a motivator, but it's a very short-term motivator, right? So if you set out and say, you know what, my purpose for building this company is to get it to $1 billion valuation and create some unicorn, I rarely find that is something that motivates people very far, right? Everyone gets excited for a little bit, but ultimately people are looking for purpose. And so for us, our goal is to really improve the lives of people who are affected by workplace absence and disability. We want to get them back to work faster, cheaper than anybody else, improve their life expectancy, improve their quality of life, make sure that they're independent and able to work and support themselves and their families. And that's our ultimate goal, or ultimate vision. And I'm very confident that we're going to be able to have that impact. From a short and long-term goal perspective, again, as the company goes, our long-term goal is to put as many tools into the marketplace that is going to subserve that larger vision. Where can we improve processes kind of day by day, step by step, so that the system becomes more efficient? And really, I mean, our short-term goals for this year, we have 2 products launching that are sort of fulfilling that vision. So that's where we're at in our current vision, look for this year.
Awesome. That's great. So I believe there were already many good advices in this podcast, but still at the end, if you can give the biggest piece of advice to or other entrepreneurs who are maybe struggling with the business, or maybe they are planning to start a business.
So I think if you're planning to start a business, go in with your eyes wide open. And I think it's helpful to determine whether you're the type of person who even wants to run a business, right? And what is your motivation for running that business? And there are plenty of resources that are out there, and a lot of really, really great books that talk not about, running a business and how to run a business and how to do all those things, but whether you're even the right fit for it. Because I do think it takes a certain personality type, and it's fair. I mean, there are many pathways to success. The second is if you're going to do it, despite that, be prepared for an incredible amount of disappointment. The amount of disappointment exceeds the amount of joy that you get. So it's like constant disappointment with spikes of joy, and then constant disappointment again. And that's just the way it is. And the funny thing is when you reach a success milestone, it's never as great as what you think it's going to be. And that's just the nature of the game. And you somehow have to come to terms with that and be grateful for the opportunity that you've been provided. For people in business, and again, I need this advice as much as anybody else. So perhaps I'll advise myself along with whoever else is listening. But I really, really do believe that you need an incredible amount of grit. And there's a time to understand when a business is done and it's just, there's no hope for it. And I've been in that situation. I've started probably about 7 businesses. 5 have failed, right? 2 are doing well. 1 was successful exit, and then this one that we're working on. But it requires an incredible amount of grit and an incredible amount of being open-minded. So listen to the market signals, listen to your customers, and really, test your assumptions and be honest with yourself. Like, don't fall in love with the idea, but test the assumption that, this makes sense. Yes, we're getting traction. No, we're not. How do we reposition? How do we test the market going forward? Because everything is iterative. You're never going to, have a single vision for what your company is going to wind up being.
That's a beautiful advice. By the way, I was thinking you are going to say, if you are going to start a business, don't start it.
No, I honestly, I encourage everyone to, but it comes down to, do you have the temperament for it? And then what is the business that's right for you, right? For some people, that is setting up a retail operation, and they're very good at retail sales, and that's what speaks to them. For other people, it's, they're artists and they create their own art, and they're creators, and then they do that. Like, not everyone needs to have an agency or a tech startup, any of those types of things. I mean, I think you really have to see what your skill set is and what your aptitudes are. And then you learn. And even with the perfect skill set, perfect aptitude, perfect scores on everything, a lot of businesses fail. And that's just the reality of it. But ultimately, I think that if you're listening to the market, even if you have several failures, eventually there's a kernel of something that might turn into something real.
So then, Fawaz, please let our viewers know how they can reach you if someone wants to.
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best way. I'm Fawaz Siddiqi. You can look me up, send me a message, but would love to chat.
Awesome. Well, Fawaz, it was really nice talking to you. I really enjoyed the conversation. So, well, thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Qasim. Take care.
Good day. Bye-bye.